There are few franchises from Nintendo that are as distinct as Star Fox. Starting on the Super Nintendo in 1993 as a polygonal space shooter, through today in guest appearances on Switch and Starlink Battle for Atlas, this is the pixel evolution of Star Fox. Before we get too far into things, please be sure to subscribe down below. I'm doing a deep dive visual history video like this every month on different characters or subjects, and we're uploading at least 2 videos per week other than those. And to me, it's kind of astounding that Star Fox even exists, based on the hardware it was released on, and the overall market at the time. I mean, we were saturated with platformers like Super Mario World and Sonic the Hedgehog. Even more astonishing is what inspired the game. Shigeru Miyamoto often took long walks from Nintendo's corporate headquarters in Kyoto to the Fushima Inari Taisha Shrine, and he became enamored with the Kitsune, or fox statues around the grounds of the shrines, as well as the numerous arches that surrounded the shrine. These strolls led to Miyamoto imagining what it would be like to fly through the arches. And who better to do that flying than one of those foxes? Now, by today's standards, things with Star Fox are rather rudimentary. The R-Wing is full of sharp angles and simple lines, but at the time these games launched, it was absolutely mind-blowing to see. There are also signature character portraits from whenever anyone speaks, which are gorgeously simple. There's a basic retro charm to the overall game, with simple triangles creating the overall aesthetic of the R-Wing, basic polygons used to sculpt the environments that speed by you in the backgrounds. The game is decidedly simple, but also somehow entirely magical. In stills, the game looks laughably old, but in action, it's as great as it's ever been. Star Fox 64 feels important, and that's really because it is. The game takes the basic framework of what was delivered on the SNES and ramps it up in every regard to make an absolutely stunning game to see and play. Gone is the basic triangle R-Wing, and in its place is something fully formed and fully realized. Curved wings show the overall complexity of the machine that Fox is piloting, but the overall design elements remain true to what we initially had. Large points stick up off the wings, and the booster jet is still angled enough to feel like the first game. The buildings within the environments are all still polygonal, but the texture work is vastly improved, showing each to have multiple floors, windows, and scorched areas to imply difference and nuance. There's also considerable shape variety this go, with almost dog-bone-shaped buildings, as well as rectangles, golf tee-esque shapes, and even round balls upon thin pillars. And of course, what can't be overlooked are the character portraits. Gone are the simple and charming 2D character sprites, replaced instead with 3D models for Peppy, Slippy, Falco, Fox, and Pepper. We also see a significant visual upgrade in the effects and the attack lighting. Everything is just stronger and more realized this go. Now, we aren't just talking R-Wings and environments. Oh no, we are also looking at Fox's appearance as a walk-around character in other games. And that, of course, all started with the original Nintendo party brawler, Super Smash Bros. On the N64. And yeah, look, by today's standards, this model is laughably simple. But when you consider that this was our first time seeing Fox fully bodied and animated outside of his R-Wing, this is rather remarkable. Sporting his trademark white jacket and army pants that he had on the cover of the original game, as well as somewhat on the original game's press start screen, Fox is a fairly faithful reproduction of something we'd only caught glimpses of to this point. With his signature white helmet, we also get treated to Fox sporting a handy-dandy blaster, which had only been hinted at to this point, with just a slight indication of a holster on Fox's left hip on the SNES cover art. With the advent of the GameCube in 2001, Nintendo's visual representation took a leap forward for all characters. No longer constrained by the memory issues experienced with the N64, GameCube games were drop-dead gorgeous in comparison, and our first exposure to Fox McCloud on the NGC came with Super Smash Bros. Melee, which released within the launch window of the GameCube's debut. Fox looked incredible in this game, and dare I say it, downright beefy when compared to his N64 counterpart. The stick ankles are a thing of the past, replaced instead with defined musculature on the calves, pants that blouse out from the top of his boots, clearly rolled up sleeves, and his helmet actually has a defined mouthpiece. Now these are all callbacks to that first game's cover, and he looks absolutely killer here. For the first time, we can also clearly see the interior of Fox's jacket, which is a lovely tangerine color, and his red scarf is now fully defined and actually looks like a scarf rather than just a red blob on his shirt. We also get our first look at what appears to be a combat medal on his chest, as well as his signature triangle belt buckle, which will be a theme carried forward in future Smash games. I really wanted to like Star Fox Adventures, but this isn't a review of the quality of the title. This is our first full walk-around adventure game featuring Fox, and I won't lie, Rare kinda nails the model here. Fox looks just different enough to know this isn't a standard Star Fox game. His jacket has been swapped for a puffy vest emblazoned with the Star Fox team logo on it, His gloves are now fingerless, and his green pants now have a yellow stripe up each leg. He also sports a backpack for adventuring across Dinosaur Planet, as well as entirely losing his helmet and communication mouthpiece. Interestingly, this game also sees Fox go from having blue eyes to having green eyes. Star Fox Assault is interesting because it's a full hybrid game, featuring both flying missions and walk-around missions. While flying, the R-Wing looks as great as ever. It's got a bunch more detail this go-around, with large, almost like spires sticking off the wings, yet it remains fully committed to the triangle aesthetic that the series has had since Jump. There's more meat here, though. It feels like a fully realized ship, even more so than what we saw with the jump from the SNES to the N64. We also get a series of on-foot missions this go-around, and the costume is really interesting here. To me, this almost feels like a 1950s spaceman cereal suit design, rather than something we've seen from Fox in the past. He's got large red shoulder pads sitting atop a green and red bodysuit, and he also has a segmented vest with what looks like a jetpack on his back. I also dig the Star Fox logo on his left shoulder pauldron. It's a neat look. Super Smash Bros. Brawl on the Wii sees it as a nod to the Melee costume, with numerous tweaks and changes to modernize and streamline it with the new hardware. Fox now has fingerless gloves in this costume, carrying them over from his Adventures outfit, and he now has a really cool green eyepiece over his right eye to add to the overall sci-fi aesthetic. I also like the change in the holster for his blaster. It's now very Han Solo-like, with the strap going low from his waist to his side, as well as a thigh strap that goes around his leg. Fox now has buckles and straps on his boots, and I love the mine that he wears on his hip. I also really like the details of the Star Fox team logo on his belt, as well as on the back of his jacket. There's a lot of similarities from the Smash Bros. Brawl costume to the costume here in Smash Bros. For the 3DS, and I wanted to call out this version specifically over the Wii U version because of the absolutely awesome cell shading around the character model. Fox feels like a cartoon come to life, with deep black outlines surrounding his body. Now the main change here are due to the shaders. His colors pop more vibrantly as the lighting is far flatter on the 3DS. Not a ton to really say about the model. I honestly just kind of wanted to show off the little system that could. I absolutely love the look of the R-Wing in Star Fox Zero. From the bright blue accents on the wings, to the gold points on the tips of each wing, to things as simple as the black triangles on the underside and top side of the wings, the game firmly embraces the traditional design of the classic ship and adds its own spin on things. I also really like that you can see the cockpit as you bank the R-Wing and somersault. It's a small but simple detail, but I really like it. The character portraits also get a slight bump up in this game, utilizing beautiful 3D models, yet implementing a kind of choppiness that the game's original portraits had as they spoke. It's a small detail, but you can feel the reverence to the original visual design of the first game. Alright, we are to Star Fox 2, and it is flashback time. Now, for the majority of the flying, at least that I've experienced in Star Fox 2, I've been in first-person view. But there are times where you shift back to the original design of the R-Wing that we viewed all the way back in 1993, with sharp lines, triangles, and colors representing everything about the ship. We also get a return to the cartoon portraits we saw in the original game. Visually, it's not really a step forward or a step back. It's more just a really neat footnote in video game history that we ended up having this released 25 years after its initial completion and after it was shelved. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has by far the most detailed take on the character model that we've seen used in both Brawl and on the 3DS Wii U iterations of Smash. And while it is a throwback to that model, that's not to say there aren't significant improvements here. Obviously, with new hardware comes new engine improvements, so there are more subtle fur effects on Fox's tail, as well as more snarls and sneers on his face as he attacks, giving more depth and nuance to the character. There's also significant detail on Fox's jacket. First, we have Star Fox team patches on both the shoulder and on the very back of the jacket by his neckline, with a ton of texture and detail in particular on the shoulder patch. Impressively, we also see both cloth texture and leather texture on the jacket, with the trim appearing to be elastic-like cloth and the jacket being leathery and bumpy. I also really like and appreciate the subtle grime and almost rust on the metal portions of Fox's boots. Finally, and not to be overlooked, the Star Fox team logo appears on his blaster. It's an absolutely awesome, small attention to detail. I don't think it's a stretch to say that the best Fox McCloud has ever looked is in Starlink Battle for Atlas, an absolutely underrated gem for the Switch from Ubisoft. Now, while this was a multi-platform game, the Switch release brought in the entire Star Fox team and gave everyone an absolute glow-up for their appearance. In cutscenes, Fox has flowing active fur, sheen on his teeth, and subtle reflections in his eyes and eyepiece. He's back to wearing fully fingered leather gloves, and his jacket once again brings in mixed mediums for his textures. Being a Toys to Life game, the in-game model for the R-Wing reflects the functionality of the title, having large ports on each wing where you're able to attach elemental weapons in order to take advantage of the weaknesses of the various enemies you'll face. I also really like that this is truly the first time where the R-Wing reflects its surroundings. If you notice here, while out in space, the R-Wing takes on an almost teal appearance, reflecting the atmosphere and lighting of the dogfight outside of the planets. But when it's on the surface, you'll notice that the R-Wing is now stark white. It's a small but noticeable thing that Ubisoft really did a great job with. Alright, while Dinosaur Planet isn't an official game and never got an official release, I couldn't do this video without including this new bit of remarkable digital archaeology that is released. Dinosaur Planet is the game that would become Star Fox Adventures, and it is decidedly a Rareware game. It's full of charm and excellent design work. I honestly didn't anticipate this being a Star Fox game. But he's here, and for the N64, he honestly looks pretty fantastic. Sporting a completely unique look with short sleeves, a red scarf, and carrying an honest-to-God claymore as his weapon, Fox looks decidedly different given everything we've gotten used to over the years. That's not a bad thing. I also think, given the shift from his eyes being blue to being green in Star Fox Adventures, that's kind of interesting that Fox's character model in this game still had his blue eyes. It's a small bit of nuance, but it's a neat one to me nonetheless. Sadly today, Star Fox often feels like a forgotten franchise with Nintendo, and honestly that's a shame, because in a world of Marios, Links, and Pikachus, a character as distinct and unique as Fox McCloud should absolutely have a place in the regular franchise rotation. And honestly, with a visual history as unique as the character himself, I can only hope that we see future games from the franchise, and we continue to get unique visual takes on the adventures of Fox, Slippy, Peppy, and Falco. Let me know down below what your favorite look is for Fox and for the R-Wing. Next month we'll be back with another Pixel Evolution, and since it's my birthday month, we're going to look at one of my favorite characters in Donkey Kong. Now if you enjoyed today's video, please do give it a thumbs up, as your enjoyment of these videos is truly appreciated. They are a labor of love, and every time someone likes them, it's a damn good feeling, I ain't gonna lie. If you're new to the channel and just happen to stumble across us, welcome! Please consider subscribing, and while you're there, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything we've got going on. Until next time, I've been Jay. I appreciate you diving deep with me on this visual history of Star Fox. Remember to play more games, stay square, and do a barrel roll. I'll talk to you soon.